Here I go. It is nice to have an opportunity to visit. Co-creating at its best, yes?
Yes.
So now what?
I'd first just like you to just tell me and everyone watching and everyone here in this room who you are. Who is Abraham? For those who don't know, including me. Would you tell us?
The most important thing to explain is we are a collective consciousness, a vibration, not different from that which all of you have access to. But because of Esther's focus over the years, she's managed to accomplish a frequency, so to speak, that allows her to hone in on us. She can hear us in a more pointed way. Everyone who is physically focused, and that includes all of you, are extensions of source energy. And we are just that source energy that you are all extensions of. But as you move around through your day-to-day experiences, not meaning to, you often find vibrational frequencies because of what you are observing that prevents you from receiving the fullness of who you are. And we are the fullness of that, you see. So some have tried to get us to define ourselves in physical terms, but we cannot. And we are not whispering words to Esther that she is repeating. We are offering blocks of thought, and she is finding physical words that match those blocks of thought. Everyone does this. You're all inspired. It's just that you can be inspired from different points of attraction. You could be in a very bad mood and receive inspiration, but you're not receiving inspiration from source energy. You're receiving inspiration from blocks of thought that have been sort of left on the physical trail. And so it's a matter of tuning to high frequency and doing it consistently enough that there is consistency to what you're receiving. That's the easiest way of explaining it. And the most important thing that we want to say to you and to everyone is you're all doing it. You just don't usually do it consistently. And Esther doesn't either. A forum like this, it's easy for her to do it because you all come expecting. And so it is on the desire, momentum of desire that you have going that we ride in on, so to speak.
So you are really a collection of just vibration, of just higher and higher frequency, equivalent to God, would you say? Is it?
Humans have a hard time defining us, and they have a hard time defining God. And they have a hard time defining those physical friends who have been in physical bodies who have now reemerged into non-physical. You have a sort of, as humans, we love you so much, you have a sort of screwy perspective of this continuum of life. You think you come into these bodies and you live for a little while and you get it right or you don't, and then you leave and then you come again, when really what is happening is you are eternal. You never really leave. And even when you are no longer focused in your physical bodies, you are still focused, and you are still focused upon what's going on here. There is a collective consciousness that is so interested, so eager about everything that you all are about. And that source energy is what man wants to call God, and it's what you all have access to.
So I've often said that we're not here as human beings having a spiritual experience, but rather it's the reverse, that we're infinite spiritual beings just having a temporary human experience.
Oh, and when you stand in your now moment and somehow, some way, you have practiced yourself into a high-flying vibration where you're not ornery or you're not upset or you're not worried about anything. So you are pure positive energy. And then you allow, because you are in that high frequency, you allow that inspiration to flow. Now you are so much more than what you have thought yourself to be. Now you are the extension of that source. And that's when you feel clarity and passion. That's when your timing is good. That's when you're at your funniest. That's when you feel the best.
I think of the word, I wrote a book years ago called Inspiration, using the two words inspire, inspirado, inspire, in spirit. There was a great teacher on this planet a couple of thousand years ago named Patanjali, and he said, when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, that all of your thoughts break their bonds, your mind transcends limitations, your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new and a great and a wonderful world.
Perfect.
And then he said, and this is what I want to ask you about, he said, dormant forces, when you're inspired, dormant forces, faculties, and talents come alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you've ever dreamt yourself to be. It's almost as if you discover yourself to be God or Source or the Tao or Divine Mind or whatever name we place on this source energy that you speak of and speak to us from.
The way we've been defining that most recently is that when you wake up in the morning, you have the potential of being in that highest frequency, because while you slumber, your point of attraction, the momentum of your point of attraction stops. So when you first wake up, before you begin thinking thoughts of what went wrong yesterday or what you have to do today, you're in your greatest potential of that pure positive energy. So if you can focus there and allow a little momentum to get going, what happens is it isn't something that just happens, it's something that you focus yourself into being. But when you focus yourself into that, you tune in, is the best way of describing it. You tune in to that source energy consciousness who has always been aware of everything you're doing, but there's a big difference when you tune into it and you consciously are aware of it. In other words, source is there for everyone all the time. We don't need to talk you into that. We're always there. But when you know it, when you're not doing that thing you do that is preventing you from knowing that, that's when you have those wonderful moments. And you can do that all the time.
In the middle of the
And they call that the master, but all of you do it. It's just the mastery of focus is what it is.
I wake up every night around 3 o'clock in the morning. And there was a great poet, his name was Rumi, many, many years ago. He said, the morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. Do not go back to sleep. Do not go back to sleep. And many of the books that I've written when I've been awakened, and there's something, what is it? What is it that awakens me? It's like I can almost tell you the exact time. It's like, because in a film I did years ago called The Shift, they show a clock, it's 3:13 a.m., almost to the second. Every single night, there's something. Is that angels? Is that divine source? Is that someone saying, this is your purpose, this is the time, there's no distractions?
The thing we most want to say is that we're with you saying that all the time. So what's interesting to us is that that's the time that you decide to listen.
Right.
And
but there's nobody else around to distract me.
And that's the important conversation to have. So what is it about that time? What is it that's happening there that makes you more resonant, that makes you more receptive? And it is that the momentum of your thought has stopped. So there is no contradictory vibration going on within you. So you're more likely to hear. Esther has been saying to herself, when she awakens like that, she will say, am I awake? Because if I'm awake, I am going to get up. And so it's conscious awareness of that high frequency vibration. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. But I find for me, the most creative moments are that middle of the night time when...
Well, think about what that is. When you think a thought for as little as 17 seconds, law of attraction will bring another thought like it to it. So momentum begins.
What do you mean? law of attraction will bring? What is law of attraction?
Let's say that you wake up in the morning, and rather than finding that clear space that is potentially there for you to find, instead, as soon as you wake up, you remember the trouble that you had yesterday. And you think about being at work, and you think about the dilemma, and you think about the discomfort, and you think about the discord. And as you focus for as little as 17 seconds, more thoughts like that will join it. So another 17 seconds, more momentum still. Another 17 seconds, more momentum still, until you cross something as short as the 68-second mark. You have lost your window of alignment with Source. Doesn't mean, Esther said to us the other day, because we said, well, you can always begin again tomorrow. You can always begin again tomorrow. And Esther said, I refuse to accept that I have to wait all the way until tomorrow to get back on my high-flying disc. I can do it. I know I can do it by focusing. It's just so much easier. So we like to talk about law of attraction because it is the vibrational engine that manages everything. And we can't talk about law of attraction without talking about momentum, because there is a momentum in thought. And if you think a thought long enough, it becomes a strong habit of thought. It's what you call beliefs. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So sometimes you have beliefs that do not serve you. But when you first awaken, those beliefs are quiet enough that you can find a fresh one that comes from Source, that is about who you really are and what you really know.
Is the reverse of that if you awaken and you have a very positive thought? That is, I'm going to heal myself.
Well, that's a wonderful thing. Once you get that momentum going.
But like the 17-second rule apply to that as well?
It applies to everything. And the rule of thumb is when you acknowledge that law of attraction is, whether you like it or not, and you acknowledge that it is responding to the vibration that you are offering right now, and therefore momentum will get going. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, if the thought felt good, we'd think it. We'd think more about it. We'd talk about it. We'd write it down. We would discuss it with others. We would deliberately encourage that momentum. But if it's an uneasy thought, if it feels uncomfortable, then we would do our best to generalize it. The more specific you become in a thought, the more momentum. The more general you become in a thought, the slower the momentum. Esther remembers San Francisco driving to the top of one of those, what she called ridiculous hills. She couldn't believe that people were actually driving on those hills. And so we said, well, imagine perching your car at the top of one of those hills, take it out of gear, take the brake off, and just for fun, just to see what happens, nudge it a little bit from behind. Well, you know what will happen, and if you come to your senses, you will step out in front of it and let it bump up against you, and you will stop that unwanted momentum. But you would not want to be at the base of that hill stopping that unwanted momentum. So your thoughts are the same way. When you get the hang of this, when you begin to realize that every thought is vibration and that law of attraction is responding to every thought, and the thought is going to increase, the only question is it one you want to increase? Because it's going to increase. Law of attraction insists that it does.
Can you have a thought, like I talk a lot about the I am discourses. I am as the name of Source, another name for Source. If you are feeling weak, but you have a thought saying, I am strong, I mean, that's one of the lines from the book of Joel. Let the weak man say, I am strong. If you continuously say, I am strong, or I am well, or I am healed, or I am wealthy, or I am positive, or I'm loving.
It makes sense. It makes sense, but there is a effort factor, a backfiring factor that sometimes. Every subject is really two subjects, wanted and absence of it. So if you are feeling not strong and you say, I am strong, which end of the stick are you activating? And what we've noticed is the more effort you are applying, usually you're trying to overcome what you've really got going on vibrationally with words. And instead of it working the way you want it to, it works in reverse, because When you're trying really hard, it's an indicator that you're trying to use your words and your actions and your affirmations to compensate for vibration that you didn't get started off on the right foot. We think affirmations are wonderful, but we would make sure that we are feeling really good when we affirm, because the universe doesn't hear what you say. The universe hears what you mean.
It also responds to how you feel, doesn't it?
Well, that's right. That's how you know what you mean. So if you're feeling weak and you're proclaiming that you're strong, the universe is just, and the louder you're saying it, the more the universe is hearing you demanding something that you do not feel. It's trying too hard. For a while we were offering an analogy that we see you, it's like you go down to the river's edge with your canoe and you put it in the water and you point it upstream and you paddle really hard, because it feels like to get something done, there should be some struggle involved. But law of attraction is responding. Law of attraction is the path of least resistance. And if you can accept that you are source energy and that there is a trajectory of ease and least resistance, and you can feel when you're on that trajectory and you can feel when you get off of it. And sometimes the more you proclaim that you're on it, the more you're really off of it just trying to get on it. And it's better just to take a nap.
All right, I've got a very important question. Not that these haven't been. I have 8 children.
You have our condolences.
Well, before I had any children, I had 8 theories about how to raise children. Now I have 8 children, no theories about how to raise children. But I have a daughter, her name is Serena. And when she was 11, 10, 9, whatever years old, she used to always complain to me about my fathering, about my parenting, giving me lots of advice about I do this wrong and I do that wrong. And after a while, I just got fed up with it one day, and I had been listening to some of the things that Abraham had said, and I said to her, I said, if you don't like the kind of father that I am, the kind of parent that I am, then you shouldn't be blaming me. I said, you should really be taking a look at yourself and asking yourself, why in the world would you pick me to be your father? And she stood on her hands and put her hips on and rolled her eyes back, that 10-year-old kind of look, and said, you're telling me that I actually picked you to be my father and picked Mom to be my mom? I said, exactly right. I said, and when you're making important decisions like that, you should really be very careful about it.
Even more than that, you are right now evoking the kind of parent I am being. Your expectation is so powerful, I cannot override it. I could, but we seem to have rendezvoused on a vibrational spot that makes each of us want to blame the other for what's going on here.
So her final response to me, which was the best response I think I've ever heard from one of my kids, she said, well, then I must have been in a hurry. And my question to you, Abraham, is there anything before we show up in this world of form?
Yes.
That we have any access to who our parents
Yes.
are going to be? How does that work?
Well,
Okay.
there's a powerful trajectory. There's a powerful but general plan. You knew that you were coming forth, and you knew that the variety would be perfect. You knew that the variety would inspire you to your personal new preferences.
But when you say you knew, in what way? I mean, there's no brain to work with, there's no body to work with, you're in this formless...
What does brain have to do with consciousness and knowing?
You're the one who has to answer that.
The brain is the focusing mechanism that you are utilizing here. But there is consciousness that is outside of what you call the human focus of the
Right.
brain. That's this vibrational thing. In other words, we talk about vibration, we talk about energy, we talk about thought, we talk about emotion. But really, by the time we're talking about emotion, emotion is a manifestation. There's quite a bit of momentum going before emotion shows you how well aligned or not you are with that broader perspective. So before you came into this physical body, you were consciousness, and you were eager about projecting some of that consciousness into a physical body, because you knew that in this physical body, with all of the other wonderful and diverse physical beings that would share this time-space reality with you, you knew that you would be inspired to new ideas. And that really turned you on, because you know that you are an eternal being, and you know that without some new idea, eternity ceases. You weren't worried about that because you knew the time-space reality would inspire the new ideas. So you had this general sense of your well-being. You understood your absolute worthiness. The thing that is so beneficial for Esther, and now for us, and therefore for all of you, in experiencing the transition that Jerry has made into non-physical, is that she can feel his keen interest in things she's doing now. She knows he's consciousness, and she knows what he's interested in. She can feel when she finds alignment with what he's thinking. She can feel when she's off on a path that he's not a vibrational match to. And Jerry is just an example of that non-physical consciousness that has always been there. This continuum that humans think, this generation is born and then another and then another. That's not the continuum of life. The continuum is you come forth into this physical body and you mix it up and you find things that interest you, that delight you, that encourage you, that amaze you. You find things that are desirable to you. And as you find those things while you're in your physical body, those desires don't cease when you reemerge into non-physical. Instead, you join that cadre of non-physical consciousness who is still interested in the things that you were interested in. Only now you're interested from no resistance. Now when you desire something, you don't shoot it in the foot with doubt. Now when you desire something about yourself, you don't lay it over with unworthiness. Now you are pure positive energy, you see. Oh, when you feel in your physical body thrill bumps, that's us having a moment with you. Those thrill bumps that you think are yours, are you resonating with the way we feel? So never confuse the fact that we are non-physically focused and therefore formless with being mindless, or with being emotionaless, or being interestedlessness.
Right. So that was before. You know, I mean, I know in a timeless world there's no before and after, but so we leave our bodies, and like you just had Jerry just leave your physical world. My mom just left my physical world just a short time ago. Is she capable of recognizing me? Does she still know that
Not
she has
just capable, hard at it all day, every day.
Really?
But you have to reorient yourself about your mother. Because when she reemerges into non-physical, she leaves behind all doubt and fear and worry and all of those personality characteristics that you sometimes pick up along your physical trail. In other words, that's what we like about telling you that when you wake up in the morning, you have the potential of pushing the reset button. Because that's what happens when people reemerge into non-physical. They push the reset button, and it doesn't mean they lose interest. In fact, their interest is more keen, more interest than ever before. But you can't find resonance with her if you're thinking about her as she was before she left behind all of her resistance.
Enjoy listening to up to 10 new experts each day, May 31st to June 9th. Be a part of this incredible event, the Hay House World Summit. Register today.